Don't come to the gala, Cal. I can't have people asking why I'm dating the IT guy from a cubicle farm, Sloane said, adjusting her necklace in the mirror. I looked at her and replied, okay. By midnight, her key was on the counter, my side of the closet was empty, and a short note sat under the lease printout. Hey friends, please subscribe and turn on notifications, like this video, and leave a comment with your impressions. This will be a great help. Thank you. We never tire of reminding you. It's all thanks to you. The funny part is I wasn't even mad when she said it. Stung, sure, like someone flicked a rubber band against the inside of your wrist and you realize it's going to bruise later. But in the moment, I just felt clear, clean almost, like my brain stopped trying to negotiate with reality. It was Friday in Dallas, the kind of December evening where the air is cold enough to make you walk faster but not cold enough to keep people inside. The skyline looked sharp, like it had been outlined in silver. Our apartment, on the 4th floor of a new building near Knox Henderson, was warm and smelled faintly like the cedar candle she always insisted on lighting when she got nervous. Sloane was nervous a lot lately. We had been together a little under 2 years. She worked in marketing for a boutique luxury real estate firm. She didn't sell houses, but she made listings look like they belonged in magazines. She knew how to stage a photo, how to write copy that made a half-bath feel like a European-inspired powder room, and how to smile at the right people long enough for them to remember her name. I worked help desk for a mid-size credit union. I was the guy who reset passwords, replaced laptops, and fixed printers that sounded like they were eating forks. It was stable. It paid the bills. It wasn't glamorous, and I never pretended it was. But it was honest, and I had a plan. That's what made the night so strange. I thought we were building something, not a brand, a life. The gala was for the Dallas Arts Alliance, held at a hotel downtown. Sloane's firm had a table. She'd been talking about it for weeks, not like it was a party, but like it was an audition. She kept calling it a room full of decision makers, like they were a weather system she needed to learn to predict. The week leading up to it, she got sharp, not cruel exactly, but calibrated. Everything mattered, my posture in photos, my haircut, my shoes. She asked me twice if my suit still fit the way it should. She offered to book me a barber appointment with someone who understands men's hair, as if my current barber was carving me with a pocket knife. The day of the event, she came home early with a garment bag, a new dress, and the kind of focused energy that makes you feel like you're in the way just by existing. She hung the dress on the closet door and stepped back, like she was appraising art. "Is this too much?" she asked, and her voice had that thin edge it got when she was asking for reassurance but didn't want the answer to sound cheap. I looked up from my laptop at the kitchen counter. I'd been studying for the CompTIA Security Plus exam on my lunch breaks and after work. I had flashcards open, a practice test paused mid-question. "It looks great," I said. "It's you." She smiled a little, then turned to the mirror in our bedroom. She held the necklace against her collarbone, then swapped it for another, then another. "Do you think people will notice if I wear the pearl drop again?" she asked. "Probably," I said, "because it's nice." "That's not what I mean," she said quickly, like I'd missed a cue. "I mean people remember. They remember who repeats outfits." I didn't know what to do with that, so I let it sit. She started doing her makeup at the vanity, leaning in close, then leaning back, scanning herself like she was looking for weak points. "Jason from the firm is bringing his girlfriend," she said, as if it was important information. "She's, the whole package." "Good for him," I said. Sloane's eyes flicked to mine in the mirror. She used to work in New York. She has that effortless thing. I nodded, okay. She exhaled sharply, irritated at my calm. She wanted me anxious with her. She wanted me to participate in the fear. Then she turned and the air changed, not dramatically, just enough to make my shoulders tighten. "Cal," she said, and she said my name like it was a difficult topic. "Yeah." She walked over, holding the necklace in her hand. She didn't put it on. She just held it like a prop. "I've been thinking," she said, "about tonight." "Okay. I don't think you should come." I stared at her for a second, waiting for the rest. Like maybe she meant the event was boring, or maybe the table was cramped, or maybe my suit didn't fit and she didn't want to tell me. But she didn't fill the silence. She just watched me, as if she expected me to understand. "Why?" I asked. Her jaw tightened. She looked away for half a second, then back, like she was choosing honesty because it was easier than pretending. Because it's a certain crowd, she said, and she stopped, searching for a kinder word, but the kinder word never arrived. You don't match, Cal. I felt that rubber band flick again, harder. I kept my voice even. Match what? She made a small, frustrated sound. The vibe, the room, the expectations. Meaning what? I asked, still calm, still giving her the chance to save herself. She stepped closer and lowered her voice, like the apartment itself could overhear and judge her. People are going to ask questions, she said. They're going to ask what you do, where you went to school, who you know, and I can't do that tonight. I can't spend the whole time managing. Managing me, I said. She didn't deny it. She just looked at the floor, like she'd dropped something and didn't want to bend down to pick it up. Then she said the line that ended it. I'm embarrassed to introduce you, she said. I can't have people thinking I'm settling. There it was, not about my suit, not about the gala, not about the crowd. About her story. About what my existence did to the image she was trying to sell. I sat there, hands resting on the counter, and I felt my brain do a quiet inventory. I thought about the rent, $2, $150 a month, split unevenly because she insisted on the nicer place and promised she'd make it up when her bonus hit. I thought about the utilities in my name, the internet in my name, the shared streaming accounts, the shared groceries, the shared routines that had slowly become me funding the stability while she curated the aesthetic. I thought about the last time she posted a photo of us, 8 months ago, and only because it was someone else's wedding and she couldn't avoid being tagged. I thought about how she introduced me at parties lately. This is Cal, and then quickly to the next topic, like my job title was a stain that might spread. I looked at her and realized something simple. I didn't want to be managed. So I gave her what she asked for. I nodded once. Okay, I said, you should go alone. Her shoulders loosened with relief, so fast it almost made me laugh. Almost. You're not mad, she asked, already half turned back toward the mirror. No, I said, if you're embarrassed, you're embarrassed. She blinked like she didn't understand calm acceptance. She expected an argument. She expected me to beg for a seat at her table. Instead, I reached for my laptop and closed it, not angry, just done. She watched me for a moment, suspicious. So, you'll be fine. Yeah, I said, have fun. That's when she really relaxed. She smiled, grateful in the way someone is grateful when a problem solves itself. Thank you, she said, and I swear she meant it. She went back to getting ready, humming under her breath like a burden had lifted. I stood up and walked to the living room, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like the air belonged to me again. I didn't make a speech, I didn't slam a door, I didn't post anything. I did what I always do when something breaks. I handled it. First, I went to the bedroom and pulled out the folder I kept in the bottom drawer of my dresser. The folder wasn't dramatic, it was boring. Lease documents, payment confirmations, car title, birth certificate, passport, the kind of stuff you never need until you really need it. I set it on the dining table. Then I opened my email and searched for our lease. Both our names were on it, but the payment portal was under my account. I saved the lease PDF to a flash drive and printed a copy, not to be petty, to be organized. Sloane was still in the bedroom, doing eyeliner with the concentration of someone defusing a bomb. I went into the closet and looked at what was mine. My suits, my shirts, my shoes, my work clothes, my gym stuff, my winter jacket, my watch my dad gave me. I didn't touch anything that wasn't mine, not because I was trying to be noble, because I didn't want later arguments about you stole my whatever. I wanted clean lines. I grabbed 2 duffel bags from the hall closet and started filling them. In the kitchen, my phone buzzed, a text from Sloane. Please don't be weird tonight. I really need this. I stared at it for a second. Then I typed back, I won't be. And I meant it. I stepped out onto the balcony for a moment. The city noise was distant, a siren far away, a car door closing, life happening without asking for permission. I scrolled to my friend Marcus and hit call. Marcus answered on the second ring. What's up, man? Are you home? I asked. Yeah, wise. I need a favor, I said. Can you bring your truck over? He didn't ask why first. That's why he was my friend. Now. Tonight, I said, within the hour if you can. There was a pause and his voice softened. You okay? I'm clear, I said. I'll explain when you get here. Give me 20, he said. I'll bring straps. You got big stuff. Just what's mine, I said. Thanks. I hung up and went back inside. Sloane came out in her dress, now fully assembled, hair curled, makeup perfect, necklace on heels that clicked like punctuation. She looked expensive. She looked like a person who belonged at a gala. She also looked at me like I was furniture. You're being quiet, she said. I'm fine, I said. She grabbed her clutch and glanced around the living room. You're sure you're okay staying here? I almost smiled at the irony. Yeah, I said. It's my apartment too. She flinched and I saw a flicker of annoyance, not guilt, annoyance that I'd reminded her of a shared reality. Okay, she said, quickly smoothing her expression. Well, don't wait up. I won't, I said. She walked to the door, then paused. If anyone asks, just say you didn't feel well, she said, like she was giving me a script. I nodded once, sure. She left. The door clicked shut. And the quiet that followed wasn't lonely, it was spacious. I moved faster then, not frantic, just efficient. I unplugged my desktop and monitor, wrapped the cords, and put them back in the boxes I'd kept in the closet. People make fun of keeping boxes. I never did. I liked being able to move cleanly. I packed my work laptop, my external drives, my flash drive with my study materials. I grabbed my security tokens and my notebook from my desk drawer. I went through the bathroom and took my toothbrush, razor, meds, and the boring essentials. I left anything shared. I left the fancy skincare stuff she'd bought and insisted I use even though it made my face feel like it was wearing a sweater. I walked through the kitchen and opened the pantry. Most of the food was shared. I took the protein bars I'd bought and the coffee beans I liked. I left the rest. I kept my mind on 2 rules. Only what's mine. Only what I need. At 8:12 p.m., Marcus knocked. I opened the door and he took one look at my face and didn't crack a joke. Okay, he said, where we going? I got a storage unit, I said, and I booked a short-term place. He nodded, impressed. You planned fast. I planned before, I said, and that was the truth. Not this exact night, but the awareness that something wasn't right had been building. I'd checked prices on storage units weeks ago, telling myself it was for decluttering. I de-looked at short-term rentals just in case. When you live with someone who treats life like a stage, you learn to keep an exit door in your mind. We carried boxes down to the truck. The elevator was quiet. The hallway lights were too bright. I didn't feel like a man sneaking out. I felt like a man finishing a task. Marcus didn't ask questions until we were loading the last box. He leaned against the truck bed and said, "Did she cheat?" "No," I said. "Did she hit you with something unforgivable?" I looked at him. She told me I should stay home tonight because I embarrass her. Marcus's face changed slowly, like anger was rising in stages. She said what? I kept my voice steady. It's not a fight, it's a decision. He exhaled through his nose, forcing himself calm for my sake. Okay, he said, then let's move you. We drove to the storage unit off North Central Expressway. It wasn't glamorous. It smelled like concrete and dust. The fluorescent lights buzzed. It was perfect. I'd rented a 5x10 earlier that evening on my phone while Sloane was doing her makeup. Month to month, autopay, simple. We unloaded everything, and I slid the lock into place. Then we drove to a small extended stay place in Addison I'd booked for 2 weeks. It wasn't some dramatic new life apartment. It was a clean room with a kitchenette, a bed, and a desk. Neutral colors, no history. Marcus carried my last duffel bag inside and looked around. This okay? He asked. It's quiet, I said. That's enough. He nodded, then hesitated. You want me to stay? No, I said, but thank you. He clapped my shoulder once. Call me if you need anything, he said. Anything. I will, I said. When he left, I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the wall for a minute. This was the part where people cry in movies, or drink, or do something reckless. I opened my laptop and made a checklist. Not dramatic, practical. Change passwords. Remove shared devices. Update mailing address. Separate accounts. Confirm lease obligations. Then at 10:47 p.m., I drove back to the apartment. Not because I missed it, because I needed to finish it properly. I let myself in with my key and walked through rooms that already felt like someone else's story. The apartment was quiet. Sloane was at the gala. The place smelled like her candle. I went to the kitchen counter and laid out what I needed: the printed lease, a notepad, an envelope, and my spare key. Then I wrote the notes. I didn't write poetry. I didn't write accusations. I wrote like I was closing an account. Sloane, I moved my belongings out tonight. I will not be continuing this relationship. I've paid my share of rent through the 1st of next month. See payment confirmation in email. I will transfer the utility accounts out of my name by Monday. Please do not contact me directly. Any logistics about the lease can be handled by email only. My keys are in this envelope. I will not be returning to the apartment. Cal, that was it. No insults, no you'll regret this. No, how could you? Just boundary and process. I put the note under the lease copy and slid the envelope with the keys beside it. Then I walked through one last time to make sure I hadn't missed anything important. Phone charger, got it. Passport, got it. My dad's watch, got it. And then I left. The door clicked shut behind me. The next morning, I woke up in the extended stay room, and for a moment I forgot where I was. Then I remembered, and my body did something surprising. It relaxed. My phone had notifications, missed calls, texts. From Sloane. Cal, what is this? Are you kidding me? Answer the phone. Then one at 2:18 a.m. that made my stomach tighten. You embarrassed me. You made me look insane. That one told me everything. Even now, it was about her image, not my feelings, not the relationship, her performance. I didn't respond. At 8:30 a.m., I emailed the leasing office. I kept it simple. Hi, I'm a co-tenant at address. I moved out on date. I'd like to discuss my options for removal from the lease at renewal and any required documentation. I attached the lease PDF and asked for next steps. Normal, legal, calm. Then I called the utility companies and scheduled transfers. Electricity and internet were in my name. I set end dates, printed confirmation emails, and saved them in the same folder as the lease. I filed a change of address form online with USPS for my mail to forward to a PO box I opened that morning, not because I was hiding, because I didn't want my life funneling through her hands. By noon, I had a new routine. Coffee, shower, study for an hour, gym, lunch, work tasks, another hour of study. Quiet rebuild didn't mean pretending I wasn't hurt. It meant refusing to let pain become chaos. On Monday, I went to work like normal. My boss, a woman named Janine, asked if I looked tired. Just a lot going on, I said. She nodded the way adults do when they recognize a boundary. If you need to take a day, tell me, she said. I'm okay, I said. I'd actually like to talk about the open security analyst training track. Her eyebrows rose slightly. That's not related to what's going on. It is, I said, and I didn't explain further. I'd been studying for months. I'd told Sloane about it early on. She'd smiled and called it cute, like it was a hobby I'd outgrow. Janine didn't call it cute. She called it smart. By the end of that week, I had approval to shadow the security team one afternoon a week after I passed my exam. It wasn't a promotion yet. It was a step, something real. Meanwhile, Sloane's version of events began making its rounds. I didn't hear it directly at first. That was the interesting part. Karma didn't come from me posting screenshots or telling her boss or humiliating her. Karma came from reality being consistent in front of witnesses. A neutral mutual named Elena reached out on Thursday. Elena and I weren't close. She was a friend of a friend who occasionally joined group dinners. She worked in HR for a medical group. Practical, observant, not dramatic. She texted me, "Hey Cal, hope you're okay. I'm not getting involved, but I wanted you to know Sloane has been telling people you abandoned her and that you're unstable. That doesn't match what I've seen. Just take care of yourself." I stared at the message for a long second. Then I replied, "Thanks for telling me. I'm fine. I won't discuss details, but I appreciate the heads up." Elena replied, "Good. Also, she told that story at brunch, and 2 people corrected her timeline because they saw you at the gym Monday morning, so it's not landing." That was the first crack. Sloane tried to paint me as impulsive and cruel, but she'd spent too long curating her own life for people not to notice patterns. She told people I stormed out, but the leasing office had an email from me the next morning. Utilities had scheduled transfer confirmations. I'd handled it like a man who was done, not a man who was exploding. And most importantly, people knew me as quiet and consistent, not flashy, not dramatic, just steady. A week later, I got my first text from an unknown number. "Cal, this is Tara. You need to call Sloane. She's not okay." Tara was one of Sloane's friends, the kind who spoke like a group chat had elected her spokesperson. I didn't respond. Another unknown number the next day. "You can't do this to her. She has anxiety. You're punishing her." I stared at that one and felt something settle even deeper. She wasn't anxious about losing me. She was anxious about losing control of the narrative. I responded once, one sentence. "This is Cal. Please don't contact me again." Then I blocked the number. Over the next 2 weeks, the attempts escalated in a predictable way. First, guilt, "She's crying." Then anger, "You're an idiot." Then bargaining, "She just wants closure." Then bait, "She's already talking to someone else." I didn't take the bait, I didn't argue, I didn't defend myself. Every time a new number popped up, I blocked it after one glance. I kept emails. Not because I planned revenge, because boundaries work best when you can prove you enforce them consistently. The leasing office got back to me. Because Texas leases are what they are, they told me I was still responsible until the lease ended, unless Sloane agreed to a release or found a qualified replacement. Fine. I didn't panic, I did maths. I opened my bank app and looked at my savings. I'd been putting money aside for a certification and emergency fund. I had enough to cover my share through the end without wrecking myself. I emailed Sloane once, one email, cold and factual. "I'm willing to sign a release if you want to assume the lease, or we can work with the office to find a replacement tenant. I will continue paying my share through the end if needed. Email only." She responded within minutes. Not about the lease. About her feelings. "How could you do this? Do you know how humiliating it was when I got home and everyone was asking where you were, and then I see that note like you're my landlord. You made me look like a joke." I read it once, then replied with one line. "Please keep emails limited to lice logistics." She responded with a longer email, apologies mixed with blame. "I didn't mean it like that. You took it the wrong way. I was stressed. You're punishing me. Everyone thinks I'm the villain now." I didn't reply. Because I wasn't interested in negotiating her interpretation of her own words. A month passed. Quiet rebuild is slow. It's not cinematic, it's repetition. I worked, I studied, I kept my place clean, I ate simple meals, I ran on a treadmill and watched the news with subtitles like an old man. I took my Security Plus exam on a Saturday morning at a testing center in Richardson. When I clicked submit, my heart didn't race, not because I didn't care, because I'd trained myself not to outsource my calm to outcomes. The screen loaded. Congratulations. I sat back in the chair and let myself breathe. That night, I took myself to a quiet diner and ate breakfast for dinner like it was a small celebration. Eggs, toast, coffee. No post, no announcement. No, "Look what I did without you." Just a step forward. That's when the real karma started showing up, not as fireworks, but as friction. Elena called me one evening while I was folding laundry. "I'm not trying to stir stuff," she said, "but you should know she's unraveling." I held the phone between my shoulder and ear. "What does that mean?" "She's telling different stories to different people," Elena said. "First you were unstable, then you were controlling, then you cheated. Now it's that you left because you were intimidated by her success. It's not consistent." I didn't say anything. Elena continued, "And she got into it with someone at a happy hour because they asked why you paid the utilities if you were so useless." It got loud. I closed my eyes for a second. Not satisfaction, just confirmation. Reality doesn't like contradictions. When you build your life around image, you have to keep feeding it. And if the truth is inconvenient, you have to keep lying. And the more you lie, the more you have to perform. Eventually, you're not living, you're acting. 2 weeks later, Sloane tried a new approach. She emailed me a screenshot of a calendar invite titled Coffee Closure and wrote, "Please, 30 minutes, public place. We both deserve that." I stared at it. Closure is a nice word. It sounds mature, but I'd learned something in that month. People who respect boundaries don't demand access. I replied, "No, lease logistics by email only." 10 minutes later, my phone rang from a number I didn't recognize. I let it go to voicemail. Her voice came through, thin and controlled at first, then cracking. "Cal, please, I can't have you just disappear like that. Everyone keeps asking me what happened. I don't know what to say, just meet me, please." There it was again, everyone keeps asking. Not "I miss you." Not "I'm sorry." Everyone keeps asking. I saved the voicemail and blocked the number. After that, the flying monkeys got bolder. Tara showed up at my work building. Not inside, security wouldn't allow it, but she waited near the entrance one afternoon when I left. I recognized her immediately from Sloane's Instagram stories: perfect hair, big sunglasses, a posture that said she was used to being looked at. "Cal," she called out like we were friends. I didn't change pace, I didn't run, I just walked steadily toward my car. "Cal, stop," she said, hurrying to keep up. "This is ridiculous." I turned once, just enough to acknowledge her, not enough to engage. "Don't come to my workplace," I said, calm as a weather report. She blinked like she wasn't used to men speaking to her without emotion. "She's hurting," she said. "She made a mistake." "She said what she meant," I replied. "She didn't mean it like that," Tara snapped. I looked at her, then it should be easy for her to not say it again to the next person. Tara's mouth opened, then closed. She had no script for that. "You're being cruel," she said. "I'm being finished," I said. "Please leave." Then I got in my car and drove away. No yelling, no scene. Just a boundary enforced. The next escalation was predictable. Sloane tried to use money as a hook. She emailed me, "If you come talk to me, I'll take over the lease and you can stop paying." I stared at that line for a long time. It wasn't an offer, it was leverage. I replied, "I will continue paying as required until the lease ends or a formal release is signed. If you want to assume the lease, please contact the leasing office and include me on the email thread." 5 minutes later, she replied, "Why are you like this?" I didn't respond. By the time the lease end date approached, Sloane finally did what adults do. She found a replacement roommate and worked with the office for a formal transfer. The leasing agent emailed both of us with the documents. I signed my part. I saved copies. I filed them in my folder. The day the release was confirmed, I felt something lighten in my chest, like my body understood what my mind already knew. That chapter was closed, not because Sloane approved it, but because the paperwork said so. 2 months after the gala night, I moved into a small one-bedroom in Lakewood. It wasn't luxury. It didn't have a rooftop pool or a lobby that smelled like hotel soap. It had quiet neighbors, a decent gym, and a window that caught the late afternoon sun. I bought a simple couch, a sturdy desk, a bed frame that didn't creak. I hung one framed photo of my parents on a shelf, and that was it. My life stopped being staged. Around that time, Janine called me into her office. "Don't panic," she said, smiling. "I'm not," I said, and I meant it. She slid a paper across the desk. "We've got an opening on the junior security team," she said. "You passed your exam, you've been shadowing, you've been steady. If you want it, it's yours." I looked at the paper. The raise wasn't huge, but it was real. The work would be more demanding, but it was the direction I wanted. "Yes," I said. Janine nodded. "Good," she said. "You earned it." I walked out of that office and didn't feel like a man who won against someone else. I felt like a man who'd stopped losing himself. The final boundary scene happened in the most ordinary place. A coffee shop near Mockingbird Station on a Saturday morning. I was there with my laptop doing a training module, headphones in, calm. I looked up and saw her. Sloane stood near the pickup counter, dressed down but still curated. She spotted me immediately and froze, like she couldn't decide whether to run or perform. Then she walked over. My body didn't tense the way it used to. That surprised me. She stopped at my table. "Hi," she said softly. I took off my headphones and set them down. I didn't stand. I didn't smile. "Hi," I said. Her eyes flicked over me, taking inventory. New jacket, different haircut, no signs of collapse. That alone seemed to unsettle her. "You look," she started. "Please don't," I said, gently but firmly. She swallowed. Can we talk? Really talk?" I glanced around, people typing, people sipping coffee, normal life. "We're talking," I said. Her face tightened. "You know what I mean." I kept my voice even. "What do you want?" She hesitated, then lined in slightly, like closeness could do what respect couldn't. "I was under pressure that night," she said. "Everyone was watching me. I said something stupid. I didn't mean it. And you disappeared." "I didn't disappear," I said. "I moved out." Her eyes flashed. "Same thing." "No," I said. "Disappearing is avoiding consequences. I handled the lease. I transferred utilities. I left keys. I communicated by email. That's not disappearing." Her lips parted, then pressed together. She tried another angle. "Do you know what people think now?" she asked. "They think I'm shallow. They think I used you. They think—" I raised a hand slightly, not aggressive, just a stop sign. "Sloane," I said, "I'm not available to fix your reputation." Her eyes filled, not with pure sadness, but with frustration. "So that's it," she whispered. 2 years and you just cut me off." I nodded once, yes. She looked at me like I'd slapped her, even though my voice hadn't changed. "You didn't even fight for me," she said. I held her gaze. "You didn't respect me." Silence stretched between us. Then she said, "I was trying to build something." "So was I said. "I was building a life. You were building an image." That landed. I could see it. Her throat moved as she swallowed. "I loved you," she said, like it was a weapon she expected to work. "I believe you," I said, "but love without respect turns into ownership, and I don't belong to anyone." She stared at me, and for a second I saw the person I'd met at the beginning, the charming one, the warm one, the one who laughed at my dumb jokes and didn't care what anyone thought. Then that version of her got buried under the old reflex. "What am I supposed to do?" she asked. "Just accept being the villain." I kept my tone calm. "You can accept being honest." Her face tightened. "You're so smug," she said. I almost smiled, not because it was funny, but because it was familiar. When she couldn't control a conversation, she tried to rewrite the emotion. "I'm not smug," I said. "I'm peaceful." She stepped back like the word burned. I picked up my headphones. "This conversation is over," I said. "Please don't approach me again." Her eyes widened. "Seriously, in public?" I looked at her. "Yes, in public," calmly, like an adult. She stood there for a second longer, like she was waiting for me to soften. I didn't. Finally, she turned and walked away, shoulders stiff, like she was trying to keep control of her posture even as she lost control of her story. I put my headphones back on and went back to my training module. My hands didn't shake. That's the part people don't understand about quiet power. It isn't coldness. It's clarity. Months later, Alina told me Sloane had switched firms, not dramatically, just quietly. A lateral move, a different office, different crowd. Apparently, she'd gotten into a public argument with a client at a showing after the gala season. Someone asked a harmless question about your boyfriend, and she snapped, loud enough for other agents to hear. That story traveled faster than any story I could have told. People don't like volatility in luxury spaces. They like ease, they like calm, they like predictability. She debuilt her whole identity around being seen as polished. Then she showed people what she was like under pressure. That was the karma. Not a stunt. Not humiliation. Just reality meeting behavior. As for me, my life got smaller in the best way. I cooked at home, I read more, I slept without checking my phone. I went to the gym at the same time every day and started recognizing the regulars. I visited my parents more. I stopped feeling like I had to prove my worth in rooms full of strangers. I already knew what I was worth. One evening, after I'd been in my new role for a few months, Marcus came over with pizza and sat on my couch, looking around my apartment. "This place feels like you," he said. I nodded. That was the goal. He chewed for a moment, then asked, "You ever miss her?" I thought about it honestly. "I miss who I thought she was," I said, "but I don't miss living in a story where I was always one bad outfit away from being replaced." Marcus nodded slowly. "Fair," he said. I leaned back and listened to the quiet hum of my fridge, the distant sound of traffic, the normal noises of a stable life. I didn't win because she fell apart. I won because I stopped participating. If you've ever been with someone who treated you like an accessory, tell me in the comments what the moment was that made you choose yourself. And tell me where you're listening from. I read the comments more than you think.